to introduce all of you to Mahwish Syed, and I'll let her take it away.
Thanks so much, Erin. I am so delighted to be here with all of you. And we're going to get, our teeth, we're going to sink our teeth into something delicious today. And I'm really excited to share my presentation on how to design your healing oasis and why that affects your, your whole well-being. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see this?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, good. So basically, what I want to share with you is how I got to this point. I've been designing beauty my whole entire life, whether it was fashion or interiors or jewelry. And when I was going through my own cancer journey, I realized something really wonderful, that beauty and using my design tools to create a beautiful experience while I was going through treatment was the way through it. So a lot of people feel like they have to wait until after treatment is over to feel normal again. And what I realized was feeling beautiful and finding beauty in the here and now and designing that for myself was the way to feeling good. So next. Let me just go through this. Oops. So here I was going through cancer treatment, and it definitely changes your self-concept. And I think when I started employing my design techniques, and I'm going to explain more about them, I started doing workshops with other cancer survivors just to give you a background. And everybody kept asking me the same question. So I even created a course, and that's called Claim Your Paradise. And believe it or not, when I was going through cancer treatment, I was designing this room, which was at the Brooklyn Show House. I was going through chemo, literally shutting and sloughing off every part of me and like a snake. And it ended up being on the cover of Hampton's Cottages and Gardens. And again, it goes to show that sometimes, when you have something to sink your teeth into, which for me was design, I was able to really get into my parasympathetic state. I'm going to talk more about that. And I ended up writing a book exactly about that experience. So my book, which is called Purgatory to Paradise, basically tells a story of my cancer story, but it's more than that. It's really about designing your healing oasis and how that affects your biology, how that affects your health and well-being on an emotional, on a spiritual, and on a physical level. And it was #1 in interior pain and wall covering, neuropsychology, health and spirituality, and sacred sexuality, which is a really important thing, especially when you're going through cancer. So this is the course, Claim Your Paradise. And the reason why I called it that is because a lot of times we're in, the purgatory of cancer treatment, or living life in a state of default, and creating that paradise and designing that paradise meant living in your now. And that is really important because each and every single one of you has the agency and the power to create your healing oasis. And it's really important. I'm going to explain the why it's important and also the how, because a lot of people don't realize that your environment affects your biology in more ways than one. And by the way, all the pictures, all the interior shots are my designs. If you have any questions later on, please hold on to them and we can talk further. So beauty is healing. And when I speak of beauty, I'm not talking on the surface of things, but something deeper, even on a spiritual level, where it's about divine cellular alignment. It's when your biology is in harmony with your environment. And I think this is really important to state because your home is powerful. It has the power to affect your well-being. And that is something that I don't think many people realize, but it really truly is your healing oasis. And the reason why I think this is such an important thing to express is, most cancers are epigenetic, which means they're not genetic. They are the result of your lifestyle and your environment. And that is actually a wonderful thing in a lot of ways, because that means you have agency. You have the ability to affect your health. And that is a wonderful thing. And how your environment affects you, we're going to go a little bit more into detail. Because according to Bruce Lipton, when you change your perception, you send different messages to your cells, and that causes a reprogramming of their expression. They often say that, your genes might load the gun, but your environment pulls the trigger. And I think that's an important analogy because, again, you have the ability to change your space and change your well-being at the same time. So the link between your genes and your environment, I cannot express how important that is. And your environment just isn't like the home you live in. And I'm going to explain this more. It's how you live. It's where, how, and what is around you, what is surrounding you. For example, stress and anxiety, toxic relationships, the emotional connection between illness and what happens to our bodies is really important. Suppressed trauma, and also what you put in your body, like genetically engineered food, pesticides, hydrogenated oils, petrochemical-based foods, plastics, and exposure to all of these toxic materials. I'm a materials consultant for architectural firms, and I already advise them on what to use and what's the latest and greatest. And once I started looking at materials through the lens of cancer and what is toxic, a lot of times what I've discovered is that what they say is good for the environment is actually not good for you. So that is an important thing to remember, is what you surround and what materials that you're using against your skin and in your home, because you're literally ingesting those materials. And also circadian disruption, which is our basic biological, daytime clock that's related to the sun. We are ancient beings, and we still have an ancient biology. They say that, for example, if you think of electricity, if you think of the human condition, our human existence on this planet as a 24-hour clock, electricity has only been around for the last 30 seconds of our existence. So that means that Wi-Fi, artificial light, blue light, the light from your screen, your TV, your phone, your iPad, all of those things affect your circadian rhythm. And there's an association between cancers and circadian disruption. So again, from a lighting perspective, as a designer, I now design spaces that are attuned with your circadian rhythm, the ancient biology that exists within you. No matter how much, how sophisticated we get with our technology, this is something that is really important to kind of merge the ancient with the modern together. And also mitochondrial malfunctions, which is basically, things that we eat that affect our ability to process fuel. And viruses and endocrine disruptors, which we know are, BPAs, plastics, so on and so forth, and also synthetic fragrances that affect your biology. Those are also really big contributors. So what's really interesting happening right now, and we're at the forefront of this new chapter, neuroaesthetics is the study of how art and beauty affects your biology. your nervous system, your emotional health. And this is great because it's kind of, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and there's certain colors, for example, that feel good. There's certain places you go that resonate with your well-being. And I want you to pay attention to that. Today, I want you to look around your own home and think about it through this particular lens, through your well being. And what does that really truly mean? It means that how you feel matters, how something makes you feel matters. And you experience your reality through your senses. Basically, what smells good, what looks good, what tastes good, what feels good against your skin, and what you hear, whether it's, music or the sound of the ocean. Think about all of like expressing yourself and receiving that information through all of your senses. And this is really important because I know definitely when I was in cancer treatment, I was in a trauma state. And you know that you only heal in your parasympathetic rest and relaxation state. So when I was sitting home looking around my space, I take care of other people's homes, and I realized, wait, what about my home? And that's when I started redecorating while I was going through cancer treatment. I started looking around and realizing that I had the ability to change my mood through the things that I did. And there's some things today that I'm going to share with you that really were wonderful and really beneficial to get me into my parasympathetic state. And yes, your home is your living art. It's not just what you put in your home, but how you live in your home. Paradise means living with your best dishes, using your best clothes, and not waiting till a special occasion to live your best life today. And I ended up creating what I call rituals of reverence. And because beauty in that divine alignment, it feeds your soul. For me, designing your home means celebrating all parts of you and your spirit, your emotions, your body, all of them together is like a beautiful symphony. And I think your home and decorating your home in a way that aligns with your beauty is self-care. As a matter of fact, there are studies that are showing that patients increase recovery rates by 30% in spaces that used nature, and even pictures of nature in the space versus like an abstract Jackson Pollock painting. So what you put around you has a biological effect, has a physiological effect on your nervous system. And I go into massive detail with this in my course, but for today, I'm designing something that is hopefully super, super accessible and you can use when this lecture is over. I designed rituals of reverence. It's about creating that paradise for yourself, especially when you're in the midst of despair, in the midst of depression, in the midst of all these feelings that sometimes we tend to suppress. Or we think, oh, we'll feel better when we're healed. And I think healing happens in your today, in your now, in your daily activities, in these simple acts of taking care of yourself. And I call them my rituals of reverence because that's what I did. And I divided them by zones for today's lecture. So today, for now, we are going to cover starting with your bedroom. Now look at this photo. What attracts you to this space? Notice the editing out the lack of clutter, the softness, the color palette, the textures in the space, where your eye is drawn. If you look at your own bedroom, what's next to you on your bed, on your end table? What is on, the surfaces? What kind of textiles do you use? So the number one thing, really kind of start looking and analyzing your zones, for example, in this bedroom. So to create a peaceful bedroom retreat, the first place you look at, what's the wall that you look at when you wake up? You want to create a soothing environment. And what that means is really curating objects in your space that soothe you. And colors affect your physiology, your nervous system. And, having a soothing palette. Red, for example, energizes, blue is calming. And think about what makes you happy. Make sure that you only keep those around. And declutter. Take away anything that kind of affects your nervous system. Like clutter for me is basically a level of stagnation. And I understand that because it's a level of a freeze response when you're thinking of trauma. You just don't want to throw things out and you can't deal. But sometimes on a visual level, it's really important to create that oasis for yourself by decluttering. And then this is really important. I actually took a picture of myself when I was 15 years old. My hair was falling out. My eyebrows were non-existent. My face was swollen from steroids. I didn't look like myself. And so what I did was I took a picture of myself when I was 15, long before boys, when I was in my happy place. And I placed that picture on my mirror above my dresser. And I looked at that girl every single day in the morning and before I went to bed at night because she was still in me. I was still her, even though I didn't look like her on the outside. And I think this is really important. When you surround yourself with the things you love, you want to reflect yourself back to you. You want to reflect the part of you that is that little girl that is unaffected and bring her back into your now, whatever it is that you're going through today. It's important because we're visual beings, we're sensory beings. And when we are reminded of ourselves in our truest reflection, don't underestimate the power of that. So those are some things to think about. I love flowers next to my bed. It doesn't have to be a whole bouquet. It can just be one rose or one daisy or one tulip, whatever flower that really speaks to you. Put it there and just, it has a vibration and has the ability to soothe you. The scent of it, think of what smells good, especially when, you're lighting candles or you're using potpourri or even a diffuser, just as long as it's not synthetic fragrance. So next, we're going to cover your dining experience. And again, I used all my senses. And when I couldn't even eat things and things didn't smell right, even if it was just a plain old banana that I sliced on my plate, I brought out my best dishes, my best silverware that I didn't even use when I was healthy. I brought it out then because if not now, when? And I think this is really important to emphasize. I mean, I'm drinking my water out of, I don't know if you can see this, I'll put it in front of me, out of a wine glass, just the simple shape of a goblet, and drinking your simple seltzer or water or juice out of something that has meaning for you elevates your experience. And it's through these little tips and tricks that you're able to get into your parasympathetic state. So don't hesitate to use the best dishes, put that tablecloth down or whatever it is that you can find, even a scarf that you can put over your dining table. And those are some options. And then I'm going to go through some more. Oops. I like scattering rose petals, and it just has this really kind of wonderful sensory experience. I did that often. Sometimes they fell off the rose and I would still reuse them on my surfaces. It just creates a level of beauty in your life, in your here and now, where you are designing your healing oasis using all your senses. The other thing to do is to light a candle. Don't save that candle for a special occasion. Light it today. Use that candle as a focus point for yourself to meditate on the food that you're about to eat and to give thanks for its ability to nourish your body. These simple acts of intentional living are what got me through my own cancer journey. And I can't express enough the power of these simple rituals. Another thing I love to do is listen to music. I don't know if you guys know this. I mean, people talk about junk light. There's also junk sound like a jackhammer or, noise that is coming in or train tracks. But if you're able to layer your senses in your space by either a forest sound, even the sound of birds chirping. Did you guys know that when we heard birds chirping for thousands of years, it soothed our nervous system? And our nervous system is ancient. It's still very much wired to our environment. And the sound of birds meant the environment was safe, because usually if there was a predator around, the birds would become silent. So there is a science behind listening to birds, listening to the forest, listening to the ocean, listening to rainfall. It's called brainwave entrainment. And basically, consider yourself a symphony conductor that you're able to layer in sound, touch, scent, and vision into your space to create these rituals for yourself. So whatever happy music, I even played during radiation. I played 90s EDM while I was going through radiation to, again, get me back into my parasympathetic state. Next, we're moving on to your living room. Yeah, let's not make it our waiting room. Let's truly live our best lives in our living space. And I want you to think of your coffee table as a focal point. And I want you to only put what matters to you on your coffee table. So declutter, take the mail off, no wrappers, nothing. Just think about what you want there, whether that's a candle, whether that's a beautiful book, whether that's a stone, whatever it is, whatever has meaning for you. This is actually my coffee table. I have a keen fascination with symbolism. And for me, snakes are symbolic, especially in the East, of female sexuality and immortality, which I write about in my book, the kind of Eastern and Western dichotomy of certain symbols. So nature is important. I always keep flowers on my table as much as I like, and that's a little cricket. Again, evoking the things that matter to me. Whatever matters to you, bring it out, whether that's a photograph of a vacation that you took that you loved. Put it there so that way it is a focal point. Your coffee table is your altar. Your home is your sacred sanctuary. Only keep things around you that elevate your mood and your well-being. The other thing I want you to think about is to accessorize your sofa. So back to this room, if you think about your sofa as your little black dress, like a neutral in the space, Pillows are like your scarf that you want to accessorize your little black dress with. And what I used to do when, I didn't want to buy silk, silk pillowcases for my hair. What I ended up doing was I wrapped my pillows with scarves. I just shop my closet and I wrapped the pillows with my scarves. And I realized I could change the look and the mood of my living room just by changing those scarves around. So you don't have to spend money. You can literally shop your closet. You can really play with your space and accessorize your sofa like you would accessorize your outfit and create transience, create life. Because a lot of times, we shop for something, we put it there and we forget about it and you stop seeing it. And I think it's really important to note color affects your biology. So whatever color speaks to you, even your inner child, like that part of you that really love purple and you're like, oh, I'm not going to paint my living room purple. Try just a simple purple pillow on your sofa to bring back that version of you that was innocent and playful. And lastly, illuminating your space. I can't emphasize this enough. What you live, how you live, is how it's lit. Colors are lit by natural daylight have a different effect than colors that are lit by, say, an LED. And I always emphasize daylight over any other type of light because it's connected to our ancient biology. And lastly, well, no, that's not last. The next space is your bathroom. Again, think about it as your spa escape. Doesn't matter if it's, small or big. There are certain elements that are in each bathroom, very consistent across the board, that I think are really important to consider. Oops. So number one, especially in the bathroom, since it's humid, you're able to inhale scents even more. And I think it's really important to have either plants that have a scent or a diffuser in the bathroom or a candle that allows you to kind of create that soothing spa escape. I mean, basically every high-end hotel, when you walk in the lobby, has its own signature scent. And they do this on purpose because you're going to have that memory association with that scent. And by the way, your sense of smell is it's at the ancient part of your brain, the medulla oblongata. So basically it's connected to memory. There's not that many steps, there's a huge neural connection between scent and memory. So think about what sense you want to curate your spa escape. The other part, obviously, is the water element in every bathroom, and really focus on the healing aspect of water. I mean, we're 70% water. Our water has memory. Think about whether it's a bath or a shower, but creating a ritual around even just a simple act as a shower, being intentional with how that water feels against your skin, and really focusing on your own beauty that is being enhanced by your connection to water. And again, I think it's a wonderful time to play music. I don't know if you play music in the shower or just when you're when you're having a bath, to be listening to, whether it's ocean sounds or even a podcast. But basically, again, layering these different senses in each one of these spaces, these zones, whether it's a beautiful candle, which has a scent and, lighting with it, just to create that special experience every single time, because that's totally accessible and something we all have in common. And lastly, your garden. Now, if you don't have a patio and you just have a window, what you look at is important. And I ended up using plants all over. I have a green, basically a green curtain in my living room. I have stationary panels, but in my window, I have plants hanging down and all over. So the reason why I bring this up is biophilia. And biophilia is the effect of nature on your biology. And right now, when you look at leaves, any single type of leaf, it affects your nervous system. It's actually very soothing for you. If you think about nature, are there any right angles in nature? There's a lot of curves, and there is a wonderful, wonderful science behind all of this. So whether if you don't have to have a patio, you can literally just have plants in your space that create that indoor garden, that indoor paradise. So plants are scented. Think about things that, again, enhance all your senses, whether that is a geranium or a jasmine plant, lavender, or even a tomato plant that, I don't know, I was touching the leaves of my tomato plant, and just like that scent brought me back to my childhood, my grandmother's garden. But again, think about layering in nature in your space. And don't forget to spend time with nature, whether that's inside or outside. It's really important to get your feet bare onto grass to ground your body and to realign your electrical charge. I teach about the quantum side of our biology. I actually got my certification in applied quantum biology, and I use that to inform my designs. And again, take the time to enjoy your space. Oftentimes we're rushing from point A to point B. And I think, I can't emphasize how important it is for you to meditate and have a focal point, whether that is just a flower. And by the way, there were studies done during the pandemic where they discovered that people taking care of plants actually alleviated their stress and their depression and their anxiety by taking care of just a house plant. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in these simple acts, and try it out. And again, whether you have access to a patio or outdoor space or just your window, to be able to look out and to look at the expanse, the horizon line, it's really important to do. And now I'm going to cover something that I think is really integral to designing and your biology, which is lighting. Now, lighting from a designer's perspective is very important because it's the difference between, say, something institutional and ambient. Think of your favorite romantic restaurant. Is it brightly lit? It's usually pretty kind of ambient and dim with lots of candlelight. And that's on purpose. So number one thing is natural daylight. And the reason why is because we are circadian beings, we're ancient beings. And since sunlight isn't polarized, by opening your window, you're able to have light bounce into the space. And the full spectrum of the sun, I can't emphasize this enough, it's really important. A lot of times windows are laminated to block out UV. And we actually need the full spectrum of the sun because it starts basically our hormonal cascade and allows us to function properly in alignment. So getting natural daylight, not just in your eyes, but on your skin, because your skin has photoreceptors all over it, is really important. So that space, just so you know, this is natural daylight coming in through the window, and this is the ambient night light. So feel like how much that color changes from kind of this terracotta to the blush. That is the same exact room. Lighting really truly affects how you experience your space. And when you are, in your space at night, this is new research. The location of your light matters in relationship to your body. If you think about, again, the sun being at high noon, it's above your head at high noon. You don't want to have an overhead light at night above your head. And I teach about this a lot. I design with chandeliers. Think of chandeliers as like the bling or the earring in the space, but it shouldn't be the only source of your light at night. It should be, think about where the sun is at, say, 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. It's lower in the horizon. So think of table lamps that are at eye level, or standing lamps, or sconces. Those are the ones that should be lit lower down in the space in your room than basically an overhead light. You can use overhead light in addition to other lights, but I wouldn't have that be your only source of light at night. So the ambient glow at night is really important because you're basically giving your body a signal that it's time to rest. And, everyone's talking about that junk light, that's blue light from your TV screen, from your phone. Again, whether you're wearing blue blocking glasses, your skin is still taking in that blue light and being bathed by that blue light, which is really important to note. So think of really eliminating. I don't like TVs in the bedroom. I would eliminate blue light at night as much as possible, especially within an hour or two of bedtime. Think of using beautiful ambient sconces or table lamps, and also change your lampshades. If you want to just, make it dimmer and more moody, think of just changing your lampshade. You don't have to change the entire lamp to create that effect. Here's the sconce. And again, see the difference of this sconce at night and that ambient glow, and the same sconce here in this space during the day. And lastly, I love firelight. We are ancient beings. Fire, other than the sun, was the only other source of light for thousands of years, and our biology is very much connected to firelight. And by the way, firelight, even in the form of a candle, is the only natural form of healing infrared light other than the sun. Everyone's talking about red light therapy. Well, this is way cheaper and actually really wonderful. I don't recommend, keeping your candle burning and falling asleep, but at night, I love the ritual of lighting a candle. And by the way, I did this trick where I lit only candles. I put them in my, on my coffee table, and I was focusing on them. I got sleepy at 9 o'clock. I think that's luxury, to be able to actually fall asleep at the right time, in tune with your circadian rhythm. Try using a candlelight, dim the other lights, take out that overhead light at night, and create that ritual of reverence for yourself to give your body a signal that it's time to rest. When you're in alignment with your biology, you're in alignment with your true beauty. Beauty, the way I define it, is from the inside out. And I think, the universe has a great sense of humor calling, I call myself an interior designer. And I think we all can be our own interior designers. So lighting from a quantum perspective is in alignment with your physical form, your quantum. What is quantum? It's that life force, that energetic force that is even smaller than, on a subatomic level. We are dancing energy, you guys. And your home is in constant communication with your body and vice versa. We are in a living ecosystem. Our body is the microcosm and your home is your macrocosm. And we are constantly communicating between one another. I have designed master classes that breaks down all of these elements into easy steps covering color, covering lighting and surfaces and accessories that truly matter, and how to break that down in alignment with your well-being. And also, if you're interested in auditing your home, I have lists where basically, a lot of people can be alarmists and say, oh, this is toxic and this is toxic, but they don't offer you solutions as to what you can replace them with. And I think it's really important because I did this when I was going through cancer treatment. I started looking at everything from a material standpoint of what is good for me and what isn't good for me. And I was pretty hardcore about it. I mean, I tossed off gorgeous, expensive things that were really toxic. And a lot of times people think that, the more affluent or the more expensive something is, that it's better for you. And that's really not the case. I'll give you a really good example of this. Smart homes, or what's called a smart home, a home that's, everything you can use your phone to turn off your oven and turn on your shades. All of that is very toxic because you're literally bathed in a Wi-Fi and 5G soup that affects your we're electromagnetic beings, and we're being affected by 5G, by Wi-Fi, and being bathed in all of those frequencies affects our biology, affects our cellular alignment. So what's considered a very expensive smart home isn't really that smart at all. So I break down these materials in order, because I do it for myself. I'm my own guinea pig. I literally have employed every single one of these practices and come out the other side. And I believe that every one of you is a goddess, is someone who is sacred and deserves to have a sanctuary that is in alignment with your inner and outer beauty. And so I really implore all of you to create your healing oasis today, right now. Don't wait in the purgatory to feel beautiful. Allow beauty and pleasure to help you during and after treatment. A lot of times what they don't tell you is that it takes years to heal from cancer treatment. And I realized this for myself. It's taken time. Please be patient with yourself, but don't wait until you heal in order to feel beautiful. It's the exact opposite. Help yourself to feel beautiful so that you can heal. So that is what is really the premise of my book, Purgatory to Paradise: How Cancer Helped Me Design an Authentic Life. And I implore each and every single one of you today to design your life with beauty, using all your senses, and to create that paradise right here, right now. And I think, again, every single one of you is a goddess. And I've dressed goddesses, I've dressed the boudoir for a modern day goddess. And I believe that our life is an art, and we are meant to live in a poetic, artful, and creative way. And just in case if you guys want to take a screenshot, these are my socials. Go to claimyourparadise.com for more on this. And follow me on Insta at Mahwish Syed Designs. I don't gatekeep. My bedtime reading are scientific journals, and whatever it is that I'm learning in the field, I love to share those tips and tricks with everyone, because I think, again, I'm not waiting. I am not waiting to share something. I want you to have whatever it is that I'm learning today. I want you to have access to that because it's that important. Facebook is Mahwish Syed Designs. Again, my book is Purgatory to Paradise. And if you want what I think are the top 3 things to help your healing oasis, the 3 essential things your home needs, I have a special download for you, and it's claimyourparadise.com/podcast. And you can get that today. I so appreciate each and every single one of you for being a part of this lecture. And if you have any questions at all, I would be delighted to answer. Thanks so much. Let me take a look at the chat. Anything that kind of surprised you or confirmed something instinctively that you had, I would love to know.
Yeah.
Deborah?
Yeah, well, I have an apartment building on a high level, and in the summer, I'm surrounded by foliage, and it really makes me feel better and more daylight. But in the winter, except I do have house plants, how do you compensate and
Yeah,
missing daylight?
well, I think it's really important. I practice getting up at sunrise, no matter what latitude I am. And that really helps set up your circadian rhythm for the day. So even in the wintertime, if it's at later on, just to get that natural daylight into your eyes, to go outside. And by the way, if it's too cold to put your bare feet on the ground in the winter, I will say this, touch a tree. Trees are grounded. There's a lot of wisdom in tree hugging, but like seriously, you're able to get that the electron surge from the earth through that tree that is grounded into the earth. So I would recommend that during winter. And by the way, one of the things I also talk about is the whole kind of cycle of life where death and decay is also beautiful. And, you know, the whole idea of, by the way, Persephone, this is the backbone of my story with the goddess Persephone is the only goddess of all the Olympians who was able to go into the underworld and commute between the upper world and the underworld. And she's known as the goddess of the seasons, and it's all of the seasons. So fall, winter, spring, summer, there's health benefits to all of these seasons. It's not just greenery, but also that beautiful winter light that we have when those leaves are not there anymore. I think there's a benefit to all of it. Okay, Suzanne said, I have been doing a lot of what you suggest, but I need a major renovation of my kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and living room. I have very little money to do this. I'm thinking of DIYing a lot of it, but I find it overwhelming. What do you suggest? Okay, I would really recommend that you have a plan in terms of like a global design vision. I sometimes do renovations in stages, but at least I have the color palette that unifies all the space already put together, in addition to all the hard surfaces. So whether that's tile, that's, wood, and anything hardware, all of those things I put together, and there's a harmony and a synergy between all of these elements, including your soft surfaces like your carpeting, and your textiles, your wall covering, all of those things. So it's really important to have a global vision, whether you execute that in, starting with your kitchen and then moving on to the bathroom, it's at least cohesive and you're not caught with your pants down. Oh, recommend a clean candle. Um, I have suggestions for that. If you go to claimyourparadise.com and there is that free download, I actually answer that question. Let's see. A clean candle. Oh, you guys are so sweet. So Patricia said I could listen to you speak all day. Thank you, Patricia. I really appreciate that. And Margaret wrote, "This is so inspiring." Thank you, Margaret. I really, really, it's so great. You know, we're in this, I call it that ancient woman's circle around the fire. And I know we're doing this over Zoom, but I think it's so important. I grew up with 4 generations under one house in Pakistan. I grew up braiding. I learned to braid on my great grandma's hair. And for me, it's important to have that woman's fire circle again, that ancient kind of circle of women that share our wisdom. And I am so enhanced by your energy and your questions and your input because again, it's a two-way street. Even though it's a lecture, I think the dialogue afterwards is just as important. Let's see. Virginia wrote, "I live next to an elevated train line. I've recently started using noise canceling headphones, but is there anything else you can suggest?" Yeah, that's important. I don't know if you also feel the vibration of the train. That's something I'm actually working on as well, is creating buffers. I've done what I recommend, especially at your windows, are textiles. So I use textiles to insulate noise. And you know, I've worked also in talent agencies and in recording studios. And we actually have, there's either foam, but also very simply put, like if you use velvet or something like even a terry cloth, but something that's got a heavier texture, if you hang that at your window or on the wall that is kind of facing that train area, it will buffer the sound and that kind of level of vibration. I use textiles. I upholster in silk and leather. I've upholstered rooms in that and tented spaces to create that kind of quietness. Let's see. Is there a way to mitigate Wi-Fi in an apartment? New York City life. What can I say? You can't control what other people are doing. You only have, you know, control over your own little Post-it stamp. I would recommend definitely turning off your Wi-Fi at night. You don't need it. Turn it off completely. I love wired everything. I've literally gone back to my wired earbuds, looking at wiring your printer directly into your router. So all of those things, just really start thinking back to how we used to live. And frankly, if you think about how our ancestors used to live, like even 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, that's actually a good sign. And by the way, in terms of materials, you know, I lecture on this quite a bit, just on materials alone of what's in your space. Stay away from synthetics. We not only breathe in the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds from a nylon rug, but that nylon rug breaks down into nanoparticles that you then ingest through the dust and the air you breathe it in. And it becomes literally a part of you. And over time, that's incredibly toxic. So all these, I'll give you guys another tip. Anything that says pet friendly and stain resistant and washable is code for toxic. That's great marketing to make it convenient for you to buy that thing because everyone's touting convenience. But you know, I grew up with, I learned how to spin, I learned how to knit and sew and weave. And back to those ancient traditions, we used wool, we used cotton, linen, jute. All those natural materials have been used for thousands of years, and our biology is in alignment with that. In terms of synthetics, whether that's viscose or bamboo silk, which is code for viscose, which is very, very bad. Not only is that material toxic, but the way that material is made, how they create the yarns, is incredibly toxic for the environment because they have to use a ton of solvents. And now they're discovering, like, you know, the connection between a lot of these synthetics that you wear against your skin and cancer. Let's see. Gladys, I have a 1 bedroom with clutter in every room, not sure where to start. I have enough clothes for each season for 3 people. How do I get rid of it? Yeah, I totally get you. I would you know, again, if it gives you pleasure and joy, great. Number one, does it fit you? If it doesn't fit you and you haven't worn it in a year, get rid of it. Create space for more beauty in your life. And often we tend to hold on to things because, again, I think we're in this frozen trauma response. Believe me, I know because I've been there, and I still always try to tell myself there's going to be tomorrow. I will have room for this. So, number one, does it fit? Number two, does it give you joy? And number three, I want to give you another hint. The clothes that you put into your dresser drawer versus in your closet actually have a higher toxicity than the one in your closet. The reason why is that clothes need to breathe, especially if there's, you know, your yoga pants that have synthetic in them. Please hang your yoga pants. Do not fold them and stick them in your dresser drawer. That the amount of density of all of those materials actually you're breathing in. It's like toxic potpourri. Let's see. Do I do home visits in New York City? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Please go to claimyourparadise.com, sign up, and yeah, let me know. And also DM me if you're interested on Insta. It's Mahwish, Mahwish _ Syed, SYED _ designs. Virginia says your presentation has confirmed that I need to move out of the city. That's interesting, Virginia. You don't have to. I live in the city. It's about balance. I think a lot of people feel that city life is toxic because of the amount of density, and that can be mitigated. I am a city dweller. I love being in the city, and I love what I call creative constraints. Creative constraints are like the backbone of creativity, because when you're able to create your paradise in a space that has limitations, I find that to be a wonderful challenge that I love sinking my teeth into. Let's see. Suzanne, I want to add that I love the wisdom you took from going through your cancer experience. Thank you for sharing this with us. Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I can't even begin to describe when I realized that I used these design principles and these techniques during cancer treatment for myself. It was a game changer. I started doing workshops. I started doing workshops at Mount Sinai and other places. And I like the amount of joy it gave me to help people to find that beauty, even just in these simple acts, I can't even describe. And I've made it my life's mission to really combine all these design experiences and high-end design with accessibility, because I think a lot of people make this assumption that, oh, I can't afford that because, you know, that's high-end beauty. And I feel like my mission today is to create that beauty for everyone, because I believe everyone deserves beauty, no matter what's in your bank account. Let's see. Would you comment on the synthetic wood floors? Anything that's glued down, again, you want to think about adhesives. If it's glued down, it's going to be toxic. I don't really love engineered wood. I love reclaimed wood or hardwood, old school. I wouldn't, you know, you don't save a lot. And that the engineered wood, by the way, you over time, you can't buff that out. You can't sand it down because the veneer is so thin. So if you have actual hardwood, you can have it for hundreds of years and change the stain and sand it down and change the color and change the whole vibe of it over and over again, but you won't be able to do that with engineered wood. So over time, it's like fast fashion. It's the same exact thing. You wear that sweater once, and then it pills and it, you know, it looks horrible after you wash it. It's the same exact thing with wood. Oh, please re-show the contact information to reach you. Sure. Here it is. Can everyone see this? Okay. So if you go to Claim Your Paradise, there's a lot of free material. There's a lot of lists in there. And please join my mailing list. I have fun events and things I'm always working on. I'm going to be doing a fashion show later this year as well. And I'm going to be dressing cancer survivors, which is really exciting. So I'm going to be, yeah, I'd love to share that whole experience and that journey with you. And my Insta is really the place where I'm most active. Please DM me. I'm always reachable. It's Mahwish Syed Designs, and there's always fun reels, and there's a lot of information in scientific journals that I break down on what I've learned at the moment, what works and what doesn't work. And if you go to Purgatory to Paradise, my book is available in Audible if you don't want to read. You can listen to it while you're cooking or cleaning out your closet. And it's also available on Kindle. And again, claimyourparadise.com/podcast is the free download. Let's see. What type of wall paint is best? Oh my God, have I got a good one for you. I have a special relationship with this. I just found this company. It's Cradle to Cradle certified. It is non-toxic. Basically, the #1 source of pollution in our oceans is from paint. And, you know, the most amazing thing with all of these paints is that they're acrylic and they're plastic based, and they release VOCs over time, even though they say they're not. And using paints that are made but with crystals or stone, or even lime, just like the old paints. Go to my website, and there's a link for that. Let's see. This was great. Thank you so much. I just bought 2-bedroom condo. It needs to be painted before I move in, and I'm trying to decide colors for the living room. I have a discount code for you guys. And the living room. Any suggestions? Yeah, I have massive suggestions. You know what? If you go to my Insta, or in DM me, I'll send you the code. I'm happy to send you the code. Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciated all your questions. And